Thank you.
And what they're making is on the board, the ingredients, the names, so I'm gonna get out of the way and let them take over.
Where's Amy? Is she gonna get in?
Well, thanks so much for waiting patiently for us. As I was telling my friends over there, keep your expectations really low. You'll be excited for what we're gonna do. So we're not professional cooks. We're gonna show you what you can do in your own home. But before, we wanted to tell you a little bit about our history with the Japanese Festival, because Wendy and I are both third generation Japanese American, and our parents and grandparents are part of the original group of 24 families who came after the war. They came from internment camps, and a number of them settled here in St. Louis. And they approached the Botanical Garden and asked if there was interest in a Japanese garden. That was back in the 60s. And they also wanted to do a Japanese festival, and they wanted to do these things as a thank you to the city of St. Louis for welcoming them after the war, even though there was still a lot of prejudice against Japanese people back then. So I don't know, have any of you heard that history before? Oh, good. Yay. Glad we could tell you. Yeah, so that's part of our legacy. And we both represent the Japanese American Citizens League, which is one of the original groups. It was founded in the 1920s.
Yeah, it's the oldest civil rights organization in the nation.
It
started, no, period.
Period? Oh, okay. Yeah, so it started in the 20s, and then the chapter here was started in 1947, right after the war ended. And so Wendy is the current president, and I am on the board, and a number of our family members are on the board, but you don't have to be part of our family to be on the board. So come see us if you're interested. But one of the projects that happened way back when was this, the Nisei Kitchen Cookbook. Maybe.
So Nisei basically means second generation. And so most of the people that contribute to this are gone now, but I use this all the time. And we still sell them. So if you like what you're seeing and you want to try, then we're selling these up the hill at the soda booth. If you just go up the hill. So, but these recipes are simple. I mean, you guys can do it if you like it. Yeah.
And your grandma did a lot of.
My grandma, I think, was one of the editors, and they actually made every single recipe in there, and it went through a taste test, and everybody on the committee had to approve before it made it into the cookbook. So it's
How much are they?
They're 15.
Wow, is that all?
He's not one of our family members.
Over there.
Yeah. Okay, so all right. So just so you know, I'm going to start by showing you tsunamono, which is a typical pickled vegetable dish. And what I like about it is it comes together really quickly, and it tastes really good, and it's very simple. There's only a few ingredients. So mono means thing in Japanese, and su is vinegar. So it's literally called a vinegar thing. So we'll do cucumbers today, but you can also do tsunamono with things like cabbage or asparagus or what have you. Traditionally for summer, it's really great to do cucumbers. So the first thing is to have a mandolin, which
I have used a knife, though. I mean, you could just use a knife, you know.
So I like it really, really thin. Her husband cut his finger, or his mom cut his finger on a mandolin, and he thought
it was a musical instrument.
he thought it was a musical instrument. No, it's an actual.
Yeah, it's like I taught him nothing.
Cutting tools. Look how beautiful that is. Okay, and I'm only doing half of this very large cucumber because.
And if you use one of these English cucumbers, you don't have to really peel it. Like the instructions say to kind of peel it somewhat, but with these English ones, you don't have to.
You don't have to. Although I did bring, have you guys ever seen this kind of,
yeah, the wide.
Yeah, I love that. It's very Asian.
Just don't cut your hand.
Yeah, we'll try not to. We've been joking all day that one of us is gonna cut ourselves. and then
you guys are really gonna
bleed all over. So sorry, Bonetta, we're not gonna do that. Definitely not planning to do that.
This is their first time here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little casual.
Yeah, we're figuring it out. Okay, so I'm just gonna go with this. So you see how nice and thinly sliced those are. And then, according to the recipe, what you should do at this point is toast some sesame seeds. I'm gonna cheat and use sesame seeds that are already toasted. So don't worry about that right now, but we'll come back to that. What we're gonna do is put together the sauce to put on top of the cucumbers. And so the sauce is 1/3 cup of Japanese vinegar. And Wendy and I brought a bunch of ingredients to show you. Have any of you been to Pan Asia Market? Okay, fans, East Seoul.
There's East also.
East, yeah, there's a number of good Korean markets or Asian markets that have a lot of these ingredients.
Yeah, they're very common.
But if you have any questions, you can ask us afterwards. So I like getting Japanese vinegar. I think you can get a Chinese or Korean brand of rice vinegar, and it's probably very similar. But this one is called Mizkan, and it just says grain distilled vinegar, and I think something like this cost about $6.
It's usually a little milder than regular white vinegar. So if you don't have this, you can use white vinegar and you just dilute it a little bit.
Yeah, I've used other
I've done
vinegar
that before.
for sure. Okay, so this is gonna call for 1/3 cup of vinegar. So we've got that here, and we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of sugar. And one thing you might notice about Japanese cooking is all the recipes are the same.
It's the same like sour, sweet.
Yeah, they always have
profile, you know?
sugar, they always have soy sauce, they almost always have sake. So once you get some of those ingredients, you've got like half of it down. So here's 2 tablespoons of sugar going in. And then, oops, sorry, 4. I'm just cheating you on the sugar.
Sour.
Yeah. Like extra sweet. All right, and then we're gonna do the 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So this is gonna counteract the sweetness of the sugar. Can you guys see us up there? That's so cool.
Can you hear us in the back? Okay.
Oh yeah, because we don't, I ditched the microphone because I'm like, I have a loud voice anyway. Okay, so we're gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, then if you go by the recipe here, it's gonna say 1/8 teaspoon of MSG. What do you guys think about MSG? Okay, so some fans, some detractors. So we used to use it a lot. Almost every recipe in here has it. My mom, you know, she had like a little thing, we always used to sprinkle. And then they were like, no, MSG is terrible, it causes cancer. So everybody stopped using it and everything.
Now they're saying it doesn't.
Now they're saying it's fine, you can use it again. So I leave it up to you if you want to put MSG in, but we're not going to use it today. MSG is supposed to give more of an umami flavor, so it's going to be more of that savory taste, which is what you would get if you put like soy sauce in something. But we'll be fine without it. So from here, I'm just going to use this teaspoon. Okay, she's cooking while I'm talking. So what you could do is you could just do this, or you could microwave it for like, I don't know, 15-20 seconds, and the sugar will dissolve a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. You can tell I don't know what I'm doing, because I'm like, where is the microwave? So that'll get the sugar to dissolve a little bit. And I like doing this dish the night before because you could just prep it all, throw it together, and then the next day take it to a picnic or something like that, and it tastes really good. You can definitely eat it right away as soon as you make it, but I just think it tastes a little bit better the next day. Okay, so that didn't really do much. But in theory, I'm supposed to kind of melt the sugar a little bit more in there.
Stir it vigorously.
Okay, so we're just gonna pour that generously over there. And then you can put different things. This recipe calls for crab meat, and so this is just pink crab meat that we bought at the store. Our friend Nikki in the front says, this crab meat has no flavor. So you might pick something like the artificial crab meat that you see those sticks. That might be tastier. It's up to you. Or, you know, if we lived by an ocean, we might have access to better tasting crab. But I think this is fine for now. Yeah. So just put in however much you want. We'll give it a little bit of color. Mix it up. So you're like 95% done at this point. All right, so this is your cinnamon. When you get ready to serve it, that's when we're gonna go back to the sesame seeds. So you can either get the white kind of sesame seeds or the black sesame seeds, it really doesn't matter. I don't think they taste any different, do you? No, it's just aesthetics. These you would actually have to roast. So, you know, you would put them in a dry frying pan. And I am notorious for burning them every single time. Yes,
You have to do it twice usually.
Yeah, you
First
always
one
have to do it
burn,
twice.
and then the one you don't.
Yeah, so keep an eye on it. The minute you turn around, it's gonna start burning. But low heat, just kind of give it a shake, and then you're gonna toast it up, and you'll start to smell like a nuttier smell, and then you know it's good. And when you serve it, you're just gonna sprinkle them on top. This one that I got, I think at a Korean store, is already, it's roasted black sesame seed. So that's how we cheated by getting something pre-roasted. These do go rancid. Have you guys ever had rancid sesame seeds? They're really bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know they're bad.
Yeah, yeah. So I try not to buy a giant thing because I'm like, I don't use sesame seeds that often. But anyway, that's that. And so I'm gonna put this in the fridge, actually, and later we'll serve you samples. And I have to tell you, the samples were not made by me. So our friend Nikki in front made the samples. She was voluntold to make them. So I just
Not
want
by me.
I just want to thank you, Nikki, for
Yes,
making
thank
them.
you, Nikki.
In advance. So if you don't like it, it's Nikki. Okay? I mean it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Okay. All right. So that's your cinnamono.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right, ready for the next thing? Okay, so then I'm gonna make a dish called oyakodon. So oyako is parent and child, and then don is bowl. So it's parent and child in a bowl, which sounds kind of creepy, but it's really chicken and eggs in a bowl, right? Cute, right? Yeah. So now when you see it on a Japanese menu, you know it's parent and child in a bowl. Okay, so you need cut up chicken, and then the first step really is you take dried shiitake mushrooms, which you can get in Asian stores, and you soak it for like a half hour or so in a half a cup of warm water and a teaspoon of sugar. And then you're going to use this liquid as well. So then I just take these out, slice them up.
And those are kind of small. There's
Yeah, you can put more in, but you know, I think shiitake is kind of a strong flavor, and a lot of people don't like it. And so when I used to make this for my kids, I just left them out, and it's delicious without it. So there's no pressure to use the mushrooms.
Do you guys like shiitake mushrooms? Yeah.
Yeah. So the samples you'll have will have the shiitake in it, but it's more chickeny, I would say, if you don't use the mushrooms.
Is that a word? Chickeny?
That's not it. So this recipe serves 4. You just slice that up, and you slice up a chicken breast, which it says a cup of chicken breast, but I just slice up a breast and use it.
Or you could use thigh if you prefer.
Yeah,
a
you
darker
can use
meat.
thigh. And my mom used to make it, not with, so we use a fish broth called dashi.
Oh yeah.
So she used to use chicken broth, and that was good too. But the easier thing to use is dashi, and the way I made this dashi is with this powder. It's kind of like a bouillon kind of cube concept, so you just put it in hot water, and it's the easiest thing in the world. But then there's more traditional
There's different ways, yeah. So this is hon dashi, and it is, like she said, a powder. But you could, this is another version of it. This does not have English on it. But if you look in the back, it says powdered soup stock. Katsuo. So katsuo is the fish, which is a bonito fish. So that, and there's a picture of the fish, so that helps. They also have it in like a tea bag style version where you can soak it. I sometimes, if I have time, make it the traditional way. So there's 2 different ways. One is to make it with kelp. So you guys have had the seaweed that's on sushi, right? So not that one. Kelp is another version of seaweed that's a lot thicker, and like it's not like you can eat it, right? But you could actually boil a portion of this, you know, for like a few cups. I would maybe do half of this. That's going to impart that same sort of fishy ocean taste. So that's one way you could make dashi. Another way would be to actually do little fish. So I get these little dried sardines at the Chinese market, and I throw a couple in. and let them swirl around, and then you give a little fish broth, and then I give the fish to my cats, who are like, all excited. The third way is, this is called katsuobushi fish flakes. So it's basically this, it's the fish, but a bigger version that they've shaved off. And so you can also just throw a packet of this in water and then strain it. So there's multiple ways you can make dashi, and it is the sort of base for
It's the
things.
base for many recipes.
Yeah, like miso soup or anything like that would have dashi. But as Wendy said, this is the best version.
Well, it's easy.
It's the easiest.
But you do have to know that this also has MSG in it already. So I didn't add any extra MSG, even though the recipe says MSG. I just don't add it because I'm using this. So it's just a little saltier. Okay, so I took my dashi, half a cup of dashi, and I took the liquid from the mushroom. I stuck that all in this thing. And then I'm gonna add this, which is mirin, which is a sweet rice wine. So I'm gonna put in a couple tablespoons of that. So we're just kind of making a little soup situation.
Mirin is actually good if you put it over fruit for dessert.
Oh,
I know
never
that's
had
not
that.
weird, but yeah.
And then you do the same with the soy sauce, the same amount.
We got low sodium soy sauce because we're trying to keep you guys healthy.
Keep your kidneys happy. One, two. All right, and then a tablespoon of sugar, because we're into the sugar again. Did you put clean tablespoon? All right, or you can use 3 teaspoons, which is equal to a tablespoon.
There you go. Improvise.
Okay.
And you've got that on low, it looks like.
Yeah, you're supposed to get it to like a boil, sort of. I'm not totally familiar with this stove, so just kind of being cautious. Okay, so then we put the shiitake water and the dashi and the mirin, the soy sauce, and the sugar. And then this is takanoko, which is bamboo shoots. So you probably, if you've had Asian food, you probably have dishes with this in it. I don't like a ton of this in it, so I don't use a whole can. I think the recipe basically, whoa, it's too low now.
This particular eye, it just ticks, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, sorry about the
It's its own-
ticking.
it's its
It
own
just ticks,
personality.
okay.
Yeah.
Just sounds like a bomb.
It'll be okay.
Don't worry about it.
So I'll put in like maybe a half a
There will
can.
be no explosions. so-
Have you ever seen the other takenoko, like in its pure form, not in a can? Okay, so if you go to the Asian store, it's usually like in a, wrapped up in a plastic thing, and it looks about this big, and it's sort of like that color, but the shape, see, I can't even describe it. It's kind of like a cone, and it's got, like, it kind of looks like this. Some version of that. That's also, takenoko, and I find it to be more mild when it's in that form versus when it's been canned. So it's up to you.
Yeah, okay, and so then we need to bring this to pretty high heat. Sorry for the ticking. Yeah, so you want to bring this to a boil, and then we're gonna add this chicken, and we're gonna put these mushrooms in right now.
While she's doing that, I will explain donburi means a rice dish, basically. So you can have any kind of donburi. You can have like a beef donburi, you can have eel donburi. So when you go to a Japanese restaurant and you see all of those things listed, they're basically saying this dish is, the base is rice, white rice, and whatever we're sticking on top of it. So super popular. In Japan, they have like fast food places that are gyudon donburi, which is beef, like kind of a teriyaki beef on
So
top.
yummy.
Very good, yeah.
All right, then we're gonna add the chicken into just this, which I'm using this knife, I'm trying not to touch too much chicken.
You're doing that very skillfully.
Thanks.
Jozu.
All right, and then we're just gonna let this cook, and then while that's cooking, I'm going to scramble up some eggs.
Oh, and I'll tell you about our rice too. So Wendy made 20 cups of rice.
15.
15, I made 5. We made 20 cups of rice for you guys. Does anyone know the difference between Japanese rice and Chinese rice? Yeah. It's sticky, yeah, exactly.
And the grain's shorter.
Yep. So it's a short grain rice. If you see anything that's California rice or Japanese rice or Korean rice, that's all gonna be that same sticky consistency. If you get a different kind of rice that's like a jasmine, basmati, or it's gonna be drier, longer, and that's okay. But growing up with what we've grown up with,
We're the rice snobs.
we're rice snobs. We're like, oh, it's so dry. We like the little bit of sticky texture. And my mom taught me when I was a kid, because we didn't have such things as rice cookers, that if you wash your rice, and you usually try to wash it at least 4 or 5 times and get the starch off. And then the last time, she would fill extra water and she'd put it up to the first knuckle here.
Yep.
And that's how you do it. You would have a perfect batch of rice every single time. I don't know how she did it, but she did it.
When I've checked even modern rice cookers, and if you put the rice in, it's the
Yeah,
first knuckle.
it's the first
Like the
knuckle.
line on the rice cooker that you tell you to add the water
So
to.
it's like a cool.
But if you didn't have that, yeah, you just use your knuckle. And you'd think everybody has a different size hand, why is that working? But it does.
Yeah. Yeah, or nails. My mom had longer nails than me, but still worked. I don't know. But yeah, so good rice is really good to have. It's worth it to get it. Again, I always get like a giant bag when I go to the Asian
It
store.
keeps, it really does.
It does keep, yeah, I get like a.
Put it in like
40-pound
a
bag.
sealed container so the bugs don't get in.
I have a brother who doesn't keep white rice in his house, and I'm like,
What?
yeah. I can't fathom it, because we both eat a lot of rice, like that's just a staple
Ah.
for us.
Okay, so 4 eggs, 1 egg per person is how I think about it. And then this stuff, once the chicken cooks, which will take a couple more minutes. Oh,
It's getting nice and bubbly. Ooh, that's hot.
you want to hold the end? Okay. Or don't catch it on fire.
That would be very exciting.
I would just run away.
We'll be like that Japanese lady over there. Cook that fire.
Okay, I think that's done. Do you think it's
No,
done?
because look, it's so
Oh,
pink
okay.
there.
I'll chat with them after this about
What's that?
This isn't any Hibachi demonstration.
Yeah, really.
Really. I think it's good, yeah. Okay, so then the next thing, all you do is you just lower the heat, load it. And then you pour the eggs on top. So this is the child part. Not to think about it that way.
That's
but-
so sad.
That's kinda how I- In my head, I'm like, well, this is the child part. Okay, and then like the first time I ever made this by myself, I thought you were supposed to stir it afterwards. Don't stir it. You just sort of like let it go.
Yeah.
And then you wait until the eggs are coddled so they're kind of firm. And then you can serve it.
And it's really nice to have this extra liquid, because it makes it nice and juicy when you put it with the rice. My
Yeah.
husband loves that part.
I sometimes double the liquid part
Yeah.
so that you have more like soupy
More
stuff with
soupy
the rice.
stuff, yeah.
But I just followed the recipe this time.
Now I do a slightly different version. This is totally true to the Nisei Kitchen cookbook version. I usually try to add something green into mine. So, I can do spinach or,
She adds veggies.
there's a Japanese thing called mitsuba that I really like, which is like a Japanese parsley. It's really hard to get, but, I've tried growing it unsuccessfully. That adds a little bit of color, but Wendy's gonna add green
I usually
onions.
top it with little chopped scallion and then some seaweed. And it says to crumble the seaweed, but I just take scissors and I just cut it into little strips, which is easier than crumbling it. And they say you can toast the seaweed first, but you don't have to. I don't think it. I think maybe it makes it crumble easier, but if you're using
Yeah.
the scissor method, it
It's
doesn't
crispy
really.
if you toast it.
Yeah, you don't really need to do that.
Have you guys all made Asian food before? Okay, so a lot of you are familiar with all this stuff.
Or the ingredients.
Is anyone like not familiar at all and learning something totally new? No one's gonna admit it. Okay, good. Good. Yes, we want people who were not familiar with it to come home and be like, I'm gonna make this. My husband gets so excited when I make this. It's like
Oh,
this
yeah.
happy place. It's like a giant bowl of rice with an egg.
No, I'll just use this.
And while we're doing all this and having fun, Jody's over there serving everything.
So my daughter loves it so much, I have to make it for her birthday every year, and I make a quadruple recipe. So it's really easy, you just make a huge batch of rice, and then you just, dump the chicken into the liquid, and you're good. And you're good to go. So
Our cousin is sitting in the front row frowning at us. Did we do something wrong?
no.
It looks good? Okay. Just checking. Oh, it smells really good.
Yeah.
Someone
Can you
made
smell?
teriyaki right before us, and that smelled really good. So hopefully we have the residual teriyaki smell.
I guess you can smell the shiitake
Yeah.
in there. But yeah, but you don't stir it.
Yeah.
Because then if you stir it, then basically you end up with like this milky liquid concoction, and you don't get like the hunks of egg. That's the really yummy part.
That's gross.
It's gross.
Yeah.
I did it wrong.
Have you guys been to Japan? No? Any of you? One person, okay.
Oh.
2 people. So, I mean, Japanese food is just my favorite. Something people always ask me when they find out I'm Japanese is, what's your favorite Japanese restaurant in St. Louis? And I really don't have one because I'm a snob and I don't like many of them.
You're a rice snob too.
But if you ever want a special occasion place, there's a place called Nobu's that does omakase, which means there's no menu. The chef just does
Whatever he
what's
wants
fresh.
to.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
And so you pay it's like $80 or $120, and then you go and you sit at the cute little sushi bar, and there's only like 12 seats, and then you have an amazing meal. So if you can ever do that, I'd recommend that. Otherwise, just do this.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not an expensive dish to make, right? You use 1 chicken breast, 4 eggs, so it's very economical for families, which I think is part of the reason why, it's in this cookbook.
It's in the cookbook, yeah.
Because this is really the recipes that were developed by the second generation, so they used like as much of the U.S. products as they could, and they adapted things. So like there's a recipe in here with hot dogs.
Yeah. It's like soy sauce and hot dogs is the recipe.
It's actually kind of yummy.
I know. It was
I
like,
grew up on it.
It's my
I ate it all
favorite
when I was a
thing.
kid.
When my mom made that, I
Yeah.
was so excited.
I know.
It's probably so bad for you.
Yeah. It's really salty.
Yeah, and in the internment camps, they ate a lot of spam. So you might know spam musubi. Have you ever heard of that? That's also
You've been to Hawaii.
comes out of the camp culture. Is there was a lot of rationing on meat and things like that. My dad will not eat spam since the internment camp. He's like been there, done that. But some people took it and they put rice, they put seaweed, and then they turned it into its own little sushi roll. So I think that's pretty good too.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
If you like salt.
It's also really bad.
It's like salt.
It's really just like eating a chunk of salt.
It's very salty, but it's super flavorful. Alright, what are we doing on this?
It's looking pretty
I
good.
think it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how it's got an opaque around the outside. I'm just sort of waiting for the middle to get there.
Right in there, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it may be, and I don't know, this seems like a weird burner because it's like only cooking on the outside. So, just gonna move it around a little bit.
Did you guys go to any of the other cooking demos? No? So you have nothing to compare this to?
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
The best cooking demo.
That's really good.
I came in earlier to drop off the rice, and the professional chef was in here, and he had like everything like julienne cut it, and I was like,
But ours will taste just as good.
ours will be,
It'll be delicious. You'll like it.
because she's a mom. Mom's food always tastes better.
Yeah. This is one of the only dishes my daughter makes.
Oh, is that right?
She only makes 5 things.
Yeah.
So if you want her to cook,
This is
you gotta
one
pick
of
one of
them.
5.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that's one thing, I'm giving you like a pseudo history lesson here though. Because of the Japanese American internment too, like some of the culture got lost in terms of, what people wanted to impart on their children. And there was this sense of like, we want to be American. We want to eat hamburgers and spaghetti, So some of these things are like, they're very common in our household, but other things like my parents made a lot of like pasta and meatloaf and apple pie. And, it wasn't until I was in college and visited Japan, that was the first time I ate sushi with raw fish, actually. you know, so I didn't grow up with it. So I think it's kind of interesting that our generation, like we're the third generation, we're kind of going back to what our grandparents brought over and saying we want to reconnect with the culture and the food. And now it's so much easier to get the ingredients for the food, and of course everyone loves Japanese food.
Yeah.
You know, but back when I was in grade school here in St. Louis, there was like literally like 2 Japanese restaurants, and one of the 2 was Italian by day, Japanese by night. I'm not kidding. It had the weirdest decor ever. So, you know, growing up, we just didn't have access to Asian food that much, and I didn't think too much about it. But now, like, I love having this cookbook and being able to make all the recipes that our grandparents and our parents, you know, grew up on. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so I have rice. So you just, it's nice too because the rice sort of stretches the meat. If you're into that kind of economy. And then you just put this on top with a lot of the sauce, which is the really yummy part because it makes all the rice taste good. This. And then I always garnish it with a little green onion and a little seaweed. And there you have it. Ta-da! So that is oyake. I can use this on it.
So, do you guys have questions for us before we start handing out samples? Yeah. The book. So the book is, if you go up the hill, there's a soda tent right there. It's like if you're on your way down to watch Taiko or whatever in the Cohen Amphitheater, there's a soda tent at the top
Just
of
go
the
up the
hill.
hill, it's at the very top of,
Yeah,
this
that's
hill right here.
It's a JCL booth, and they will have copies of the book for $15.
Yeah.
And the money helps support our organization. What am I planning to do this?
Yeah, why not?
Alright, so hopefully this got sucked and tasted. One of the other things you'll notice about Japanese cooking is they use a lot of plates.
A lot of dishes.
Like, they don't do the like one plate with like a couple things on it. They do like
Everything
a little plate
separate.
for this, and there's like a little plate for like a pickled plum, and like
Yeah, they'll put like 2 like beans.
yeah, seriously.
Like 2 like soybeans
And
on
then
there.
you get your dinner and it's like 15 plates. And you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to wash all of those.
All right, so this is called a suribashi, and you can get it at an Asian store. But all it is a sesame seed grinder, and they don't cost very much, they're like $5 or something. And you just grind it over there. And if you don't have one of these, you can actually just cut them with chop them with a knife. It works the same way.
Or do a
But that kind of
quarter
releases
cup.
the sesame smell, and I think it makes it better.
Yeah, I had never seen one of these. I was today years old when I saw this. I was like, this is
Like,
amazing.
what is that? I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't have one of these?
I don't have one of these.
And
I
it's
need
so
one
cool,
of
they have a
those.
little cover for it, and then I just put it in my refrigerator, and then I always have sesame seeds.
So good. So that is the meal then. So then you serve it like this. And then if you're real Japanese, you bow, you know, and then you like act really humble, like it's not good, even though you know it's good. And you say, oh, this is really not good tasting at all. I've served you my worst cooking ever, but go ahead and eat it. And that's very Japanese. And then the other person has to.
Then you have to say, oh, so good.
It's so good, it's so good. And you have to say, no, it's not.
No,
it's terrible. I couldn't feed it to my dog. The whole thing. And then at the end, everyone's happy. So,
Yes.
Other questions? Yeah.
Would you serve anything else traditionally with that, like fruit? Because you said there's like 12 dishes.
Sometimes I'll do like, just like a vegetable, like so you can put like these sesame seeds on asparagus
Or green beans.
or green beans, and that's delicious. Sometimes with a little soy sauce
and sugar.
and a little stir of sugar. Yeah, and it makes like a little accompaniment in a dish like this big.
Yeah.
So you chop up the asparagus and then you mix it all together. But that recipe's in here too.
Yeah.
And there's one with miso also. You can mix it with a little miso paste, and
That's really good. Yeah, that's tasty.
and then yeah, serve that with it too.
Yeah, fruit I say is more like considered a dessert in Japan. You know, Japanese don't use a lot of heavy like cakes and things like that like we do here. So they will serve like melon or something like that
pear.
as a dessert. And you know, you might have heard stories, but the fruit over there is like perfect because they spend so much time like caring for it when it's growing, and they like put covers on it,
Oh, yeah.
and they like
It's
sing
packaged
to
beautifully.
it.
There's like a,
Yeah.
wrapping on it.
And then it costs like, it costs like $100 for like a pear. But then you eat it, you're like, this is the best pear I've ever had in
It's
my
an
life.
experience.
Yeah.
It's not just a piece of fruit.
Yeah, so we don't really have that kind of fruit here in the States. I
No,
feel.
and I think because we have access to more also easily, that it's probably not as
Yeah.
special,
Yeah,
you know?
so, but they're not big on sweets in Japan. So and even the sweets that you do get are not very sweet, they're lightly sweet.
And I would also say that I started with a very small portion because I could only find a small bowl. So usually the portions are bigger.
Yeah, cause this would
Because
be
this
four
is supposed to
people.
feed 4, and I probably did, a half a serving there, so.
My wife's mom always put wakame in sunomono. Is that
Uh-huh.
unusual?
Yeah,
you
no,
can.
that's not unusual.
No, okay.
Yeah, it's not in this recipe, but wakame is another version of seaweed. So it's kind of like,
It's more like a kelpie kind of stuff.
it's more kelpy, so it's more like this kind, but it's usually cut into smaller pieces and it's kind of curly. I don't know why the Japanese people, like, they have taken every single thing out of the ocean they possibly can and like turned it into food. So, yeah, wakame, actually you see it a lot in miso soup. You might not
Kind of
realize.
that
Yeah, the little
green stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that. The green stuff.
The green stuff.
Yeah, but you could put the
That's not
wakame
scallions.
in with the sunomono. That would totally be another version of it. So, and Larry's wife is from Japan, so she might have learned that from her mom or something like that, right? Yeah. Anything else?
Can you smell it?
Okay.
Smells good.
Okay, Jody, how are we doing over there?
Good, I think these oil could go out.
Okay, so we're gonna serve you guys, and we've got a couple of our family members that we've voluntold, so they're.
We need forks. They're right down there, right down there.
I'll go in the bathroom.
So you'll get a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of vinegar.
You wanna get the fork?
Okay, I think we know these with that.
That's not